Hello, everybody. Welcome to April the 22nd on the Daily Debrief. Nato here with you. Of course, Mark Beard, as always, and Blake Ashford as well. And we do have special guests coming up on the show I'm going to tell you about in a second. But April 22nd, you guys remember what it's called, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, because on this day in 1994, Michael Mora beat Evander Holyfield to become the first left-handed heavyweight champion of the world. So there you go.
Moza.
Yeah. So look, Blake Green's, he did to all the lefties, didn't he?
Yeah,
he did. So look, Blake Green's up with us after 9, so we'll check in with Kakariki, see what he makes of the announcement from Wayne Pearce today that apparently May 28th, the NRL definitely back. Definitely said government's into it, although apparently the government haven't actually responded to say that they are. But look, let's find out about that in half an hour. But right now, it's pretty cool. We're going to head out to, and I think he's actually live, coming to you from work. We've disturbed him at his work desk, everybody. It's Kevin Putt, who's been here. I've had the pleasure of being able to work with Kevin a few times as well. He's the head of rugby and everything like that goes on out at Kings. G'day, Kevin, how are you?
Yeah, no, great, mate. Thanks.
Righto. So you have been there in this last few weeks, and I know that normally, like, you're around the boarding houses and stuff, and you'd be coaching games and that. Like, what have you been doing? You just been at home? Have you gone into work? What have you done?
Well, we've just had an extended bubble. You know how everyone's been told to stay in their bubble. Ours has just been a little bit bigger than most people. So we've actually stayed on site. I run probably the biggest boarding house. We've got 85 beds in here. We had 23 students that stayed in after lockdown sort of kicked in. They couldn't get home, they didn't get home, whatever. So they stayed around. Fantastic group of kids, a real mixture, a lot of Thai boys, a couple of girls within the mate. So it's been a really diverse group. But we've just been bouncing around. We've probably got about 22 families on site here. So it's been an extended bubble, as I say. Stayed away from everyone else, stayed on site, and it's done well.
Mate, a 4-day camp's hard enough for most people. How have you had like how many staff have you got involved? You and who else doing this?
Well, we work on rotations because it's my boarding house. Obviously, probably do a little bit more than most people. You know, just checking that things are up to date. Laundry's got to be done. All these sort of things and that. But there's a good. I think there's 20 of us doing a rotation of work in that. So you get a good break from it. But having said that, when you're on, you help the kids. We've been doing the old famous things like, paper dart competitions, all those social distancing things. There's nothing like, let's smash each other in a rugby tackle or anything like that. It's all those social distancing ones.
That's an interesting one too. Putty, I was keen to get you on because I wanted to, I guess, pick your brain about the topics of rugby going forward. And I was lucky enough to have my stepson who came through the King's College system, and you would remember him. And I just knew how important his last year was in First 15 rugby. He grew physically, and he also grew mentally into a place where he decided this would be, something he could take on as a career. And I kind of feel like it really only just happened in his final year. Now, you'll have a bunch of players, you'll have a bunch of kids, and you'll know a lot of kids around the region that kind of are going to, or may miss a large chunk of a very important year. And I was interested to get your thoughts on how that can affect them going forward and how that can affect them, trying to forward themselves in a career in rugby.
Mark, you're 100% right. I mean, it's significant because especially your last year at school tends to be the one that you mature a heck of a lot. And don't get me wrong, there'll be others that are late maturers, certainly around certain positions and that. But the impact is significant. We've had in the past so many kids that in their last year suddenly play out of their socks. They're considered for New Zealand schools. They decide whether they're going to pursue a professional career or, hey, no, I've got to go and get an apprenticeship or academic pursuits or anything of the sort. We've even spoken about how some of the mental issues that could be associated with it, some of the anguish and the concerns where these kids have put all their eggs in one basket about sport or specifically rugby in this instance. Or am I going to be successful? How do I put my best foot forward? Are those opportunities gone? We know that a lot of the professional setups are tapping on our door anyway and telling us, yeah, we're looking at so-and-so, we're looking at this guy, we're looking at that guy. But realistically, you're not on the field, you're not in people's, frame of mind for thinking of what's going forward. No one's going to hazard a guess. Certainly in the current economic environment, there's not as if they're going to say, well, hey, let's try and capture a good number of these kids going forward. I just don't know if it's financially viable. And yeah, look, not only them, people like myself, coaches and that, guys that, you sort of hang your hat on the success you have by who makes it through. We're also worried for them.
Mate, is there any chance that the season could go ahead later in the year, or any possibility at all?
Blake, I've got to be honest. I'm not in the hierarchy of New Zealand government, but if you have a look at how it's all sorted out, it sort of would have to be down for community sport to operate. It would nearly need to be at level 1. For professional sport, you can get away at that level 2. So, I mean, are we going to see on TV and have that sort of adrenaline fix of at least watching some of the high-level sport? Yes, I hope so. But realistically, I think we nearly need to write off the fact that the chances of our school and club program, i.e. our community sport going, are minimal at this stage. And in which case, we've got to look at what's the best way to try and promote our players outside of that.
Putty, you mentioned the kids themselves. You mentioned you guys as coaches and being able to hang your hat on it. Will this have any long-term effect, do you think, of a whole, not a generation, but a year's worth of players? I mean, I know we're stacked with talent, and you'll have young ones coming through that you're really excited about. But this year in particular, if that year doesn't get the chances that every other year has got, would we see the ripple effect of that in higher-end rugby?
Oh, look, that's an amazing question to ask, because, I've gone the other side of it and said, if I was working in high-performance sport within Auckland, which is obviously where I'm living at the moment, or New Zealand, would I instead be looking and saying, hey, let's write off this year, but let's put an American combine together for the start of next year. Yes. We pull these guys that operated from last year, and we link them in and say, bugger this, sorry guys, this is very unique, very unusual, but let's make sure we lose or miss no one in the catchment, and let's make this a special year. We're going to do X, Y, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's term 4 this year. Maybe we get out of this cloud and we can, but I think you've got to think on your feet, in which case you've got to think really outside the square and come up with some of these weird ones. An American combine might be the way we go.
Love that.
They've done it with the sevens, haven't they? I mean, they've tried kind of recently, I think, with recent school leavers, haven't they? That Red Bull sevens where they've gone and looked for those, Putty, where they get them?
Yeah, look, Nat, we've had some great success with that. In fact, a lot of our first 15 players, we've been really scared, because what we do is we do a lot of first 15, and then we do the touch in our school specifically really seriously. And the boys come to me and said, hey, look, can we flag the touch for 1 year, because we think we've got a team that could win the sevens. We only got second in, okay, we got runner-up. But the point of it being, that was what they saw is the marker for them to put their names forward for going further in sport. So you've got to back the kids on this. Maybe take it out of the kids' hands, put it into some of these talent ID groups. Instead of you just picking up a little bit around, make something bigger. Make this a unique year where yes, we've missed rugby for the year, but we're not going to miss all the talent that exists within this country. And we know there's heaps of it.
Paddy, from your experience and dealing with young men in first 15 rugby, how big is the change between their sixth form for us, which is, I can't remember what the years are,
year 12.
Year 12, to say being in year 13 and really pushing for that next level. How big a change do you see in most of these boys that you deal with?
Well, I've got to be honest, it's a really unusual one though, Mark, because normally I'd say, yeah, it's huge. They mature in their last year, da-da-da. We've got just some freaks coming through in rugby nowadays. We've got some guys that started playing first 15 in year 10 and are stars winning 1A competitions in year 11, year 12. And just looking at it and you're going, wow. Now, we haven't seen that in our school so much. I'm sure some of the other schools have experienced that, when you sort of encourage, talent to come in or you develop talent around that. But definitely it is huge, because that final year, let's be honest, between when you're 16 and you're 18, there's a huge amount of physical development that goes on. And what we're finding in some of the best colleges at the moment is their conditioning program is really, really good. It's up there with some of the best within the professional ranks, within our Blues, within our academies, within the Auckland, etc. And therefore, you get a lot of physical development. So rugby development comes down to the coaching and the opportunities of what they're playing on the field, but physically, immense, huge year. So this is a big loss for those boys.
Mate, we've spoken about the people or the players that are ID'd already, and like we've thought, American Combine style, you thought. But what about the hidden gems in each college? Could we trust the coaches from each side to sort of pick and choose a couple of players to put in there? Would all the coaches be trustworthy to do that, or just do you think they're going to pick favourites and things like that?
Blake, I just think that's an awesome concept, because regardless of anything else, the people will be found out. If the coaches do that, they'll be found out. They'll stick out like dogs' proverbials if they get it wrong, mate. So if you're going to do something as unique as a combine and pull people in, then why the hell not put, hey, you've got your flipping gold card that you can call one kid in amongst that.
Yep.
You know, I'd be doing the same at this college. I'd probably pull a couple out the hat and say, hey, keep an eye on this kid. Yeah, he may not be the star at the moment, but he's got somewhere he could go with us. And I think also we're so well linked within our provincial systems at the moment. Most of them know the young guys coming through and who to tap on the shoulder now and who could wait another year and those sort of things. Yeah, I reckon that could be done. Could you imagine the excitement? Make it I know this sounds ridiculous, but make it a bloody reality show. Give the guys an opportunity, throw a few cameras around them, make it something special, and produce some flipping All Blacks out of it.
Mate, you just said it to three people who all nodded their heads excitedly going,
yes. We were like, yes.
Maybe it's not ridiculous. Not too much of a ridiculous idea. Have you pulled any of your players aside and had phone calls with some of the players who might be in there last year, this year, and had to, I guess, be that shoulder for them to lean on and have a chat with?
Look, head coach Mark Kennelly has done that with a few of the boys, and I'm just going to say it straight. I certainly wouldn't suggest any names, but a couple of the kids are doing it tough, mate. It real tough. We are meant to be back on Wednesday of next week, and that's when I'll start talking to some of the backline players as well. But we'll be doing it via WebEx and Zoom at the moment. Guys won't sort of be coming in. But you're 100% right. I don't think people quite understand the pressure some of these kids have put themselves under. Fantastic players, but they're still young men. They're still maturing mentally. And I'm just really, really scared that some of them are probably in a dark position at the moment. Wrongly, they're probably not focusing on their exams. They're focusing on missing my rugby.
A lot of people... We kind of see these players who are running around at the top end. A lot of people don't get to engage with the high school years, the junior years. We just see these massive athletes run out onto a field and we abuse them for dropping a ball or something like that. The real reality is that some of these kids will be the hope of families, right? They are the poster child. They are this is our ticket out of a tough situation. Like, his career will be what we're all after. So that amount of pressure on a young man, and I'm not suggesting any of these players are under your jurisdiction at the moment, Putty, but that is the storyline for some young men right now who would be put under a lot of pressure with this COVID-19 shutdown, isn't there?
Yeah, and Mark, you're 100% right. I mean, please interpret this correctly when I throw it to you, though. A lot of those kids you're talking about, those diamonds in the rough, those ones that need polishing, they are not going to be polished within a school system. They're coming from areas where they need to be identified and then taken in and polished up afterwards. They're not going to step out as All Blacks at 19, 20 years of age. They're going to develop there afterwards. And as such, I don't think that will be the loss. The loss will be is if we don't do something to capture the talent that we've just said exists this year. And for that reason, this combine or concept of having some talent ID spotting opportunity that exists outside of the school rugby competition will give those few, and I love what Blake came up with, hey, can't you give a coach a gold card where he can throw one or two kids into this? And what you do is you give them pre-warning. You say, hey, guys, if your athleticism doesn't make it, well, you're not going to be considered. So they know to break their bottoms around getting themselves in the sort of shape to be in